So we are recording now. Tony Giordano, I appreciate you jumping on the call with me. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Is that Italian?
A little bit.
A little bit of Italian. I know that you've got the International Man of Mystery going on, so we'll talk about that. Take a look at your website. For those of you who are on the call right now live, I appreciate you being on here, and those people who will be jumping in as well. We've got some fantastic followers through YouTube. And take a look. I am in the midst of creating a podcast. That way you guys can download these to your smartphones, listen to your car for all the interviews we've done. So sitting on the other line with me is Tony Giordano. That was a pretty cool shot I stole off of Google Images. So well done right there, and you've already got that mysterious social media going to it right now. So I want to go right into it and do a couple of things here today. Learn who you are, learn about how you got into real estate and how you got into now public speaking, coaching, training, and author, and how you found that niche, get kind of your personal story. Some wins, some pitfalls, some struggles, some breakthroughs, some life-changing or defining moments you've had. And then, of course, do some plugging for next week as we've got you and Brad Korn traveling to Orlando to talk about some different social media, some lead generation sources, and everything else out there. Is there anything else you want to get off the chest today, Tony?
No, I think that'll be enough for 60 minutes. That's for sure.
You're thinking, I got a pretty long story, Rick. Well, let's dive in. Catch me up if we're to do a just a 3-minute bio of who you are, how you got into real estate. Is this a long-time passion, or did you fall into it? So I'd love to kind of hear how you got started into real estate.
Yeah, real quick, I grew up going after the fire department, lifeguard, uh, medic. And one day I was selling cell phones and lifeguarding during the day, and I was trying to save enough money to put myself through a fire academy, and I walked into a mortgage company to sell them cell phones, and the branch manager, I sold her a cell phone, and she offered me a job to do home loans. And the rest is history. About a year into that career, I had saved up enough money to go to the fire academy, went to the fire academy, resigned, went to the fire academy, graduated the fire academy, went into medic school, went back to the same mortgage company to start making money again while I was trying to get through medic school. And then when September 11th happened, unfortunately, and the fake economy exploded and the fake housing market throughout '02 and '03 and then the mid 2000s, it was just so easy to make a lot of money and be home every night. And so I just stayed a reserve firefighter and then made a lot of money throughout those years. Made my first million at 26 years old in 2004, and I lost everything in 2008 at 30. And when I say everything, I mean everything, down
Wow.
to selling art and selling watches that I had bought to pay my rent. The boat's repossessed, the cars are repossessed, the houses are foreclosed, the apartments are short sold. And I just, throughout '08 and '09 was just trying to dig out of the hole and figure out how I was going to rebuild. And then that's when I became a realtor, switched to the real estate side, and joined Coldwell Banker in Malibu.
Wow.
And within a year of, a long story short, going to a couple online classes and lead generating online, at the end of my rookie year, I was speaking nationally for Coldwell Banker, which led to writing the first book, The Social Agent, and then Keller Williams recruiting me at the beginning of 2012 to continue speaking nationally for us, as well as leadership opportunities and owning market centers and all that good stuff.
Now I see why you chuckled when you said we've only got 60 minutes.
Exactly.
There's a whole lot of life lessons in there. So I want to push pause. You said you lost everything. What do you attribute that to, and how are you making sure that young people who are having success like you did, or even yourself as you're endeavoring some new adventures, what did you learn from that experience from 26 to 30 years old? What
That there is
happened?
only one thing that's certain, and it's liquid.
Okay.
And if you don't have liquid and you can't look at all of your debt and know that you could make every single payment on every form of debt you have for 12 months straight with no income coming in, then you shouldn't purchase anything to go into debt. And so I just realized that it was about liquid. And, unfortunately, yes, purchasing real estate, and obviously now, without question, I think it's a great idea, but only when done correctly and only when done when you truly have the means to actually buy stuff.
Sure, no doubt. And I've been a big fan of Dave Ramsey lately, so it sounds a lot of them of sometimes the risk calculation. Us risk takers get a little greedy with leveraging the bank's money versus the growing economy, and it sounds like you got caught with that a little bit.
Yeah, I got caught with it. I didn't really come from people who were money savvy and wealthy, and so I thought I was doing what people always said to do, purchase real estate if you're going to spend money, and so I was buying a lot of real estate, but
Sure.
it was all over leveraged and lost it in the crash.
Are you born and raised in California?
Yes.
Okay. So currently you're in Beverly Hills right now, and you are an operating principal. Do you also have a real estate sales team?
I do not. I'm actually getting ready to relaunch my team. I've been out of production per se, uh, besides just a lot of referrals. And I have a network of agents I use, but now I'm going to just take this network of agents that I've partnered with and given my leads to over the last few years and actually launch my team into production again, because I'm just drooling at the mouth with expansion systems
Sure.
that we've rolled out.
Good for you. Good for you. So playing catch up here, you go into Caldwell Banker, you start doing online lead generation. Within a year, you're nationally speaking, and you've got a background as a firefighter. So it's not like you went to school or specialized this. And a lot of people might assume that you've got that background. What did you say that was so different that all of a sudden, of this national huge brand, you became a national speaker in your rookie year? What was the innovative ideas you had?
Really, it just came down to realizing that, first of all, I'm not a techie. I didn't take technical classes. I wasn't a business major in technology or anything like that. I was a marketing person, and I went to this Facebook class, and this kid, this techie, was just teaching um, how to build a business page. And the whole time he's talking, there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't realize. I didn't see the power in it. But then what I did see the power in it was real estate is a numbers game, and a couple things that he said to do, I did. And then I realized that there was a whole nother approach that very few people were learning, and it's just a human approach. And when I started taking a completely different approach online through Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I started making it more of a human interaction approach, realizing that that's just where humans have gone now. We're just online, but the same rules apply, manners, compliments, giving people attention, engaging people. We just do it on the internet. I exploded. And I was starting to get multi-million-dollar listing referrals from complete strangers
Wow.
on Facebook who I had added as friends. And the rest is history. 80% of my business was coming from the internet, and 80% of my leads still to this day that I give to people come from these platforms, because it's just where people are.
And when you say the internet, specifically the social media, and what you call as the Magnificent Seven, right?
Yeah, the Magnificent Seven and your website. So if you want to throw your website into the Magnificent Seven and call it the Magnificent Eight, yep, that's how I group my. That's how you group them right there. And it it really just, when you think about where people are, they're not at home to answer the door anymore. They're not at home to answer hardline telephones. If you try to telemarket people's cell phones, they don't answer calls that they can't identify the phone number. It's changed, and anybody who wants to argue that, go for it. But
Yep.
if old school lead generation still works, which I know it does, sure. But it doesn't work at the level it once did, and it's because people have moved online, and that's where we can engage them.
Well, and the studies show that, and now with anything, I mean, even call it dating, call it job hunting, that social media is such a huge platform of that. So you wrote the book, The Social Agent. So there it is, right? A younger version of yourself. So when did this book come out?
This book came out at the beginning of 2012,
Okay.
and I like calling it more of a guide. It's still up to date to this day because it really doesn't talk about click this, click that, navigate through here, navigate through that. The book is a guide that just opens your mind to what social networking is, what lead generating is online, and how to build relationships on the internet, and how I was getting listings. And it's actually still to this day exactly the same as it was when this book came out. human interaction. That's all it is.
So give me some examples of some human interaction, because I think it's easy to get lost, behind the computer screen, yet you are still able to make that personal connection, personal touch through these mediums. So can you give us an example of a huge success story that differentiates the way you think about using these technologies?
Um, sure. I'll give the first one right out of the gate. My first listing, $5.75 million in Manhattan Beach in South Bay, Los Angeles. I had started adding people every morning on Facebook, adding friends on multiple platforms actually. And about 3 weeks after adding this complete stranger, um, he sent me a message. Now, we had had some friendly banter back and forth about hockey. And so we were getting to know each other in that 3 week period. And one morning, I had posted something. Now, mind you, this is November of 2009 now. I've only been on the real estate side for 1 month
Wow.
from this Facebook class.
Okay.
And I'm going to contracts classes. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a lender. I'm trying to learn how to become a realtor. And I'm 3 months behind on my rent. And I'm having my truck break down on the side of Pacific Coast Highway on my way to the office, and having Madison Hildebrand from the show $1 Million Listing and my friend Chris Cortazzo have to pick me up on the side of PCH because my truck broke down.
Wow.
To take me to the office to lead generate. And this guy sends me a message, and what I had done is I just said something about foreign money pouring into America. And if you have questions about real estate in the multi-million-dollar range, feel free to reach out to me. And this guy sends me a message who I'd had this friendly banter with, and he goes, Tony, go Kings. He said his funny hockey thing, and then he said, you seem to know what you're doing. And that's when the big light bulb went off.
You
Because
seem
I didn't know what I was doing.
right.
Tony Giordano online looked like he knew what he was doing. Tony Giordano online goes on $20 million caravans and $5 million penthouse condos that just hit the market, and he takes pictures of Malibu, and he talks about foreign money pouring into America, and this guy's killing it. Now, at the same time, he did his research too. I had launched a $5,000 website instead of paying my $6,000 behind on rent, because I knew if I was going to compete with the big people and the big agents, I needed to look like them online. And I had funded one last loan, and I used a commission to launch a website. So when this guy started doing his research, he went to my website, and he was like, wow, this guy's closing $100 million a year. No, I'm not. It's perception. The website looks fantastic. It has amazing houses on it, none of which I represented. They're copyright photos that I purchased off of stockphoto.com. And when somebody goes to a realtor's website, if they see pictures of homes, they immediately assume, perception is, he sold these houses, even though they don't say sold.
Right.
So he did his research, and I looked the part, and he said, you seem to know what you're doing. So I said, oh, thank you very much. And he goes, my parents are trying to sell a spec home in Manhattan Beach. Can you help them? And I said, sure. So I get on the phone with his dad, and I quickly realized I wasn't going to get the listing. And the reason I wasn't going to get the listing is the first question out of his dad's mouth was, how many houses have you sold in my street?
Yep.
How many houses have you sold in my neighborhood? How many $5 million houses have you sold? What's your marketing budget? What's this? What's that? You're in Malibu. You even know Manhattan Beach? And I knew those questions were coming from his first question. So I quickly had just said, well, my co-agent and I will be at your house next Wednesday, and we'll let you know what properties have been represented in the $5 million range. And I just knew that I needed to bring in another agent so that the experience level was there. Long story short, we got the listing. It sold 6 months later for 5.25 mil. In that first year, there was multiple multi-million-dollar transactions closed. I actually say all came from Facebook, but to make people think that I'm not lying, I just say 80%, when in actuality it's like 95% of all of my leads were coming from Facebook in 2010.
Is it all organic? Are you doing the boost, or was that even there back then? Because 2010 Facebook versus 2015 Facebook are two different worlds. Do you agree?
It wasn't even, boosting and demographic targeting wasn't even out yet on Facebook. In 2010, it was just organic growth to my friend page of Facebook, adding people as friends.
Yep.
And and then those friends seeing this online guy as a real estate guy, but not because he always talks about real estate. See, the key to getting people to think of your name when they hear the word real estate is not because you always talk about real estate. It's because they have a great friend online, or this guy who makes them laugh, or this guy who's always caring about people or heartfelt messages, or he's a charitable or a community person.
Yep.
This guy that they've got to know just happens to sell real estate. What does Gary Keller always say? We're a training and education company that happens
To be in the
to be in the business
estate.
of real estate.
Yep.
So they have a friend who just happens to be a realtor.
Very cool. So, and I don't know if we have access to it, perhaps you could take us in the behind the scenes of your Facebook page, and if we didn't prepare for that at all. So, because I'm curious of now how to get it set up, because it can be overwhelming from, do I have groups? Do I put a certain post that goes to a certain person, a business page versus a personal page? Do you have thoughts on that? Is it in your book? Will we hear more about it on July 9th? What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, you'll hear a lot more about it on July 9th. And yes, it is in the book. Like I said, it's a guide that just opens the mind and makes you realize that it is so simple to befriend and start adding people to your database online through LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. And as you grow your audience, then of course, demographic targeting and boosting and going after an audience that is not your friends and starting to draw traffic to your website and your business pages is then the next level of social media. At the end of the day, when you really think about what it is people are online at a very high level now. And when you engage them online, it's their source to communicate. Over half the world's population is under the age of 30. And a lot of people don't know that stat. Now, under the age of 30, communicate in two ways. What ways are those? Texting and social media.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they're going to find it inconvenient if they're referred to a real estate agent who doesn't communicate on those two levels at a very high level? And here's what it sounds like every day. And I'm living proof of this. Because for the first time in history, a rookie agent can take the business of a veteran overnight.
Yep.
Who understands the power of building relationships online. Staying in people's mind every day online versus once a month when they get their newsletter or their postcard in the mail. They're getting to know the bond is growing online. And here's what it sounds like every day. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. Thanks for Jane's number. I know she sold all of our family's real estate for the last 20 years, and she's practically family, and she comes over for Thanksgiving. But there's this guy on my Facebook, and he's been on my Facebook for about a year. We're actually pretty good friends now, and he's posted stuff before, and I've asked him questions, and I kind of feel obligated to use him. But tell Jane I said hi.
Yep.
Or it can sound like this. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. Thanks for Jane's number. You must have given her mine. She shot me a text and added me as a friend on Facebook, and we're going to go look at property this Saturday. See, Jane adapted.
Right.
But the ones that aren't willing to adapt to this new level of where people are and communicate on these levels, you better look in your rearview mirror, because there's a whole generation of new agents that are ready to build relationships with people who are in your database. And they will stay in their mind. And so many times in 2010 and 2011, did somebody who was my friend on Facebook never would have called me if it hadn't been for our friendship and the way we grew together, and me telling them happy birthday, and me being one of 5 people who liked their kindergarten's graduation picture, and sharing something heartfelt, or them telling me, don't worry about it, Tony, you know, my mom passed away as well, I'm here for you, and the bond just growing from somebody you've never even met in person yet.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they have a question about real estate, who are they going to talk to?
Yep.
Who are they going to ask?
The perceived expert. So tell me about someone. I have 2 questions. I'm just writing them down as fast as I can. Tell me about what is a disciplined lead generation activity that either you did or that someone to succeed in this arena at a high level needs to do, because it's still, you cannot be entrepreneurial. You still have to be purposeful with it. So what are some daily disciplines or some routines or systems that you use to stay online presence instead of just being online?
It's the same, and here's what I mean by that real quick. Online presence versus presence online, and what I'm going to be talking on July 9th about, is there's a massive difference between those two phrases or titles. And the massive difference is 20 years ago, if I wanted to own the northern Florida region, I wanted to dominate.
Oh no, I lost you.
To do.
Where'd you go? You want to dominate what? I lost you a little bit there.
I'm sorry. I would have had it in order to dominate the market share of Orlando 20 years ago. Dominate the market share. Wherever people went, they saw me, they saw my brand, they saw my photo, they saw my logo. I would have had to spend thousands of dollars for park benches, billboards, shopping carts, magazines, newspapers. And if you were willing to do that 20 years ago, you would have had Orlando presence when 98% of your competition was just present in Orlando.
Got it.
That's the difference of online presence versus present online, is everyone is present online. Tony, I have a Facebook. I have a Twitter. Great. How many leads are you getting from it every day?
Right.
Oh, I've gotten 2 in the last year. Oh, so you don't do Facebook.
Got it.
Oh, Tony, I've gotten 10 leads in the last 12 months. 6 closed. Oh, so you don't do Facebook. Because that's just happening by coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
You should be getting 10 leads a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how simple it is. So disciplined lead generation online is the same as disciplined lead generation door knocking. If you go door knocking and you have a goal of going out for 2 hours and knocking on 100 doors, and on the second door you get into a conversation with somebody and you wind up talking to them for an hour that has nothing to do with real estate and how great their landscape and garden looks, and this guy just shoots the breeze with you for an hour, that did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You got distracted and you started talking about cars and you started talking about classic cars, and now you went out for 2 hours and you only knocked on 3 doors because you got distracted doing something that's ultimately probably not even going to turn into a lead. And real estate is a numbers game. So these people who go on Facebook every morning to time block and say, I'm going to do Facebook, and then start getting distracted with funny pictures of cats and who's getting a divorce and who's in a relationship now and who's single, and if that's a real gerbil, that's not online lead generation. Online lead generation is being purposeful and actually engaging people, adding people, making sure you post, and then going on with your day. And if you just did that for an hour every morning from about 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock on Facebook alone, you will see results so fast. But here's the key. I can speak, and I have presentations that go for 5 to 8 hours on each platform. So I have an all-day presentation just on Facebook, an all-day presentation just on Pinterest, just on Instagram, just on Twitter. Yet, I've condensed it down to 2 things you have to do every day. No matter how many things I say to do, there's 2 things that you must do. If you don't do these 2 things, it'll never work for you. And that's add people every day and post every day. You pick the handful of platforms you want to do it on, but you must do those 2 things. Because otherwise, if you don't do those 2 things, here's what it sounds like. Tony, I've been posting every day, like you said. Awesome. How's it working for you? Now, when you started posting every day a month ago, you had 298 friends on Facebook. How many are you at now? I'm at 302. That's not going to work. Those 300 people already think you're a rock star. They already think of your name when they hear the word real estate. They already think you're friends. What if you had gotten 300 more people? Imagine the lead that would have come out of that group, and then another 300. You have to do both. Hey, Tony, I've been adding people every day, like you said. I went from 300, I'm up to 975 now. Dude, I've been adding so many people. I'm so stoked.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now, how much are you posting? My last post was 2 weeks ago. Not going to work. You're not staying in their mind enough.
Got it.
So you must do both things.
And are you posting about business, or are you posting about anything?
On your friend page of Facebook, it is 90% social. Which example, you posted something funny. You posted something about family the next day. You posted something heartfelt the next day. A dog was saved. Somebody beat cancer. Or something happened to you in your life. Something you want to share. Something about the community. Something that, people didn't know. Did you hear the hospital's expanding the ER for $50 million? Something like that. It's all personal and community stuff. And then every now and then, you know, new listing, check out the swimming pool. You think I can throw a pool party? Do you think my sellers will mind? You know, because it's still a business related post, but it's a social description.
Sure.
You're being funny.
Sure.
You're talking about it on a social level, because remember, it's called social media, not business media.
Sure.
Now, on the flip side of that, if you start getting into Twitter, Twitter is a news platform. Twitter is not the same approach as Facebook is. Neither is LinkedIn, neither is Pinterest, neither is Instagram. They all have a different niche, and the approach to them is completely different, and they all work just as good if you change your approach to each network. Example, Facebook is the social network. Facebook business page is the targeting network. That's where you target people and demographically target certain audiences around the world to draw traffic to your business page because they have interests in Orlando and they live in Japan, or they live in Canada, or they live in South Florida, or they live in LA or New York. The Twitter is the news network. That's their niche. It's about discovering information or being discovered. It's about finding out news that's important to you. Google Plus is the SEO network. Google's social network is called Google Plus, and the reason you must be active on a Google Plus profile is because Google pushes Google Plus profiles for search engine optimization now, and it's their new way of getting people active on their social network. Is if you want to show up in results when somebody Googles your name, you better start being active and supporting our social network. And they came out with that press release last year, and it's already working for those that are active. And then people who are not active are already starting to fall in results. YouTube is the video network, so it's self-expression through video. Instagram is the photo network, so it's self-expression through photo. Nobody's reading on Instagram. Nobody wants to read a paragraph attached to a photo. They want the photo to express itself. And then Pinterest is the interest network, which means interests you have. It's your wall board. It's where people pin similar interests, recipes, books you read, style you like to wear, and it's a quick idea of what Tony's interested in. To put that in a post, if I wanted to say I love Oreo cookies, which I do, by the way, for those who are listening, I absolutely love Oreo cookies.
There you go. Tony's here down in Beverly Hills. Send him Oreo cookies. Get in his good grace. Go ahead. Keep going.
If I wanted to say I love Oreo cookies, I would say that on Facebook. But on Twitter, I'd have to say I'm eating an Oreo cookie. News, facts, Tony's doing something. On YouTube, I'd have to say, watch me eat this Oreo cookie. On Google, I'd maybe say, why do I like Oreo cookies? On Instagram, I'd say, here's a photo of my Oreo cookie. On Pinterest, I'd say, here's a homemade recipe to make an Oreo cookie. On LinkedIn, one of my skills is eating Oreo cookies. So there's the niche.
Yeah.
There's how your message should come across on these platforms, and realize, and then of course the one niche that I didn't tell you is LinkedIn, and that's the professionals network. So it's about professions, it's about business. When people are in LinkedIn, they're in business mode. And in all honesty, LinkedIn is the #1 network over any other network where lead generation's ROI is at the highest level.
Wow.
It is shocking how easy it is to capture leads in business from LinkedIn, especially if you pay for LinkedIn and have a premium account and you know how to use it once you start paying for it. If you don't, make sure you're there on July 9th.
Well, and I was going to ask, so I don't want to give it away yet. I got people from actually Canada and across the U.S. listening on who likely won't fly in July 9th. So of the ROI of what you can do right now and pay for some of these sites, what would you say is a great investment, or you can do it organically without it? Because I know we can do some added things through Facebook and LinkedIn. Do you have a quick opinion on that?
You know, I guess it's just what level, you want to do this at. I mean, and this goes into Zillow and Yelp as well, and establishing your ratings and establishing leads from these platforms and having great follow-up system. Everything I teach, I'll get you as many leads as you want. You do 20% of what I say to do, you're going to get leads, but you still need to have a great follow-up system and be an agent who can close those leads. Regarding a budget, you can organically grow on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and add people and follow people. But now more than ever, you need to have a budget to actually start growing your audience and attracting new followers to your Twitter and connecting with people on LinkedIn and targeting people. And so where I say to that is, do you have a budget for advertising and marketing now? And if you do, and you say, hey, Tony, I spend $2,000 a month in marketing, not counting $1,000 a month to getting leads from Zillow, I just do that in print advertising and direct mailer campaigns. I would literally tell you to cut that in half and spend $1,000 in online advertising campaigns now. More than that is it's the language at which we start to talk today that sellers will remember. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by language and speaking this way to today is when you meet a new homeowner, right, and that homeowner asks you what you do for a living. So you're at a barbecue or you're at a networking event, you've identified that somebody owns a home or they're a doctor or something. Whenever you tell somebody you're a realtor, what is their next question?
How's the market?
Exactly. Every single person asks us that question in some way or another. And let's just say that I don't think we can get people to, how many people are on, roughly?
Right now, about 10. 10 are live.
Okay. So if anybody wanted to say what they think they would say when somebody asks them how's the market, what do we say?
Hey,
What are some of the things we say when we're asked that question?
the market's great. Why do you ask?
Right. Or the market's fantastic. And then I would say, oh, I'm just asking.
Mm-hmm.
So you're having a good year, Rick?
It's been a great year. Yeah, market's up about 20%.
Great. What do you do? What do you specialize in?
I really specialize in Central Florida for investors or people looking to move up. I don't know.
Great. And your area is the greater Orlando, right?
Yes. Yep.
So 98% of agents answer the question the exact same way.
Yep.
How's the market? Crazy market, low inventory, high demand, best year ever. Where's your area? Here. Where's here? Everywhere. What do you specialize in?
Everything.
Luxury.
Right.
Whatever you are. And it's because we're fishing now. Why are you asking?
Right.
But then they walk over to me and they ask the exact same question even an hour later. If I say I'm a realtor, they're going to say, how's the market? So even just an hour later.
Okay.
And I say pretty much the same thing, but then I add a little bit extra. And I say it's a crazy market, low inventory, really great year, great time to buy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. But do you want to know what's crazier? Remember, I'm talking to a homeowner, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Do you want to know what's crazier? And of course, the homeowner is going to say what?
Of course they do.
Now, because I'm talking to a homeowner, I know that they're going to do what one day?
They're going to sell one day.
Exactly. Whether it's in 3 hours or 3 years, they're going to sell that house one day. So my listing presentation just began. And the next time anybody on this call, next time anyone on this call is talking to a homeowner for the first time, that is the beginning of your listing presentation. If you don't think that, then you're mistaken. Because it's what you say then, at that moment, that is going to get them to remember you, to eventually call you and be at least a candidate to list their house. So now they come up to me later, after an hour of you answering the question, and they say, how's the market? And I say, crazy market, low inventory. But do you want to know what's crazier? Sure, what's that? The fact that I can take my clients' houses, move them online, and demographically target and force their listing into any audience anywhere in the world of people who currently say they live in Dubai, who have taken the time to like Orlando, Florida on Facebook. It is shocking how we can move property on the internet today. Now, who do you think they're going to remember at this point?
You just differentiated yourself.
And the reason why is I took a question about the market and I flipped it to marketing myself without it sounding like marketing myself. I was just talking about how cool it was for who? My clients.
Yep.
Who are trying to sell their house. And that is more powerful than anything I see online today is speaking online. It's using this language of these things that you know how to do on the internet and talking that way to a homeowner. And that, more than anything, will help you get the listing.
Well, that was a perfect segue. I was going to introduce it anyway, because I remember when we met in Austin a couple months back, you showed your website, which if you're watching this, you can see it, and if you're listening, then go to tonygiordano.net. So tell me about your thought process on this website, because you were very intentional with what you were portraying in perception here.
Well, the modern day website looks international, and the reason it needs to look international is because what do sellers hear all day long when they're watching CNN and CNBC? International money's pouring into America, they're purchasing real estate, and a lot of sellers, especially on the higher end side, a lot of sellers' first questions are, how are you going to market my property out of the area? How are you going to market my property in other countries? How are you going to attract foreign money? And if you don't look international and you're just one of these agents, like 95% of the agents out there who say, oh, I'm an international agent, I can market your property internationally. Oh, really? How? Because I'm with an international brand. Oh, wow. Awesome. So people use your company's website to search for property? Not at the level that you think they do.
Right.
They use listglobally.com, they use proxio.com, they use international MLSs to look for property. They don't use necessarily global brands websites to look for international property. And that's where most people stop. Then I go to the listing presentation and I say, look, a true international agent makes it easy for people to look at your property internationally. A true international agent will allow somebody to read their marketing remarks in their language regarding your property. And so if you go back to the home page, you're going to notice that I have those flags right there at the top. When you click one of those flags, it changes my website to that language. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand. Do I actually think that if somebody in Japan comes across my website through targeting efforts on Facebook, that they're like, oh, thank goodness I can read his bio in Japanese?
Nope.
Or, oh, thank goodness I can read his marketing remarks on this listing in Japanese. No, I don't. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because when I show the seller that little feature, I just got the listing. Because I look way more international than any other agent now at this point, and it makes sense to the seller. In addition to that, the modern day website, it has videos. It has your social media platforms. Now, one thing that anybody listening on this conversation needs to know is if you don't have a full-out custom website where you can do a translation bar like that, just becoming a member of GPS and becoming a global property specialist with our company will give you a Proxio International MLS website that has 17 language translations on it for your listings and for you to start marketing yourself that way when you're talking to a seller. So don't be nervous if you can't do what I did on my website. Become a GPS member and take advantage of this new day and age that sellers are so eager to hear about.
Well, and GPS is Global Property Specialist through a Keller Williams designation, and you can learn more about that if you guys want to look into that. And I know we're wrapping up here in time, so if any of you guys have some personal questions for Tony, I want you to go ahead and type it in, and I can unmute you. One question was, where's the event? It is going to be in Orlando, North Florida region. So Georgia Alpazar has invited Tony and Brad Korn to really talk about, they call it the Summer Sizzle. So there's our event for that, the Summer Sizzle. So Gary, I'd love for you to fly down from Canada and come join us for that. And then, have you worked or talked with Brad at all before? This is the first time you guys have gotten together. Tony.
This is the first time that we'll have, I think, spoken together, yeah.
Okay. And on this time, it sounds like a lot of what we talked about was teasing, and then go into more. So I'm going to go back a little bit because I got entrenched into the education and more of your story. You're an operating principal right now. You joined Keller Williams in 2012. In fact, I think I remember your first family reunion was in Orlando back in 2012, wasn't it?
My first family reunion was a week on the job as a team leader.
Okay, so you started off as a team leader.
Yeah, it was funny how that worked. The people who recruited me to KW are very, very good. So somehow I went from a top agent with Coldwell Banker to running the office of Keller Williams Brentwood in Los Angeles, and still running my team and running my production, and closing it out at CB, while then eventually stepping out of production to focus on leadership and speaking for KW nationally, because my passion for growing agents is really my number one thing. The production, yes, it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm relaunching my team very soon here. I'm already starting to handle some new listings that are coming in. However, there's nothing more gratifying to me than the weekly emails that I get from people I don't even know who have heard me speak and tell me that just implementing a few of the things that I've taught them have completely changed their life. They have closed escrows, they've double-ended deals, they've gotten buyer leads, and they just are so thankful. I've had people who cry on the phone with me, and that's where I really have that inner passion of wanting to help people change their life for the better and show them how easy it is to do it today.
Very cool, very exciting. So a question I've got, and I can unmute if it works. Gabriella, can you talk on here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, so go ahead with your question.
I'm sure you're going to talk about this in the summer sizzle, but I was wondering if you had any good scripts for randomly adding people on Facebook, because I get a lot of, do we know each other? Almost offended, kind of when you knock on someone's door. So have you ever had that?
My strategy for adding people on Facebook, and it still hasn't really changed to this day, is I don't really add people who I haven't engaged first. And when I say engage, what I do is I go to people who I think are influential. So let's take example. Everybody on this call right now, and you, Gabrielle, have influential people who you're friends with on Facebook already. If you go to their wall, you go to their profile and you look at their last 5 posts, there's usually a trend that you'll see, and it's their closest sphere of people. So their closest sphere are the ones that comment and like their posts more than anybody. And remember, this is already your friend. And then what I would do is I would get into the conversation. I would get into the comment stream and the conversations that were happening off of my friend's posts, and I would like a couple people's comments. Now, if I like some random stranger's comment who has a mutual friend with me, right, because we're both on the same conversation, so we both have Sally is both of our friends, that they're going to get a notification that says, Tony Giordano liked your comment. Now, remember, I'm a stranger, so what's their first thought in their head?
Who the heck is Tony?
Nope. Try again.
How nice, Tony liked my comment.
Boom. Who's this genius? Who's the smart guy? Who's the guy that I like already? Because what did I just give the human being?
Compliment.
Compliment, attention. Nothing has changed, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. We just do what we used to do online. When you say happy birthday to somebody on their wall on Facebook, they get the same warm, fuzzy feeling as if you told it to them in person. So once you identify that, now she says, who's this smart guy? Who's this guy I like already? And then all of a sudden, she gets another notification that Tony Giordano has now commented on the same comment stream. And I say, great post, Sally, and oh my goodness, Kathy, you're hilarious. And then she gets another notification. Tony Giordano sent you a friend request. What are the chances of her accepting my friend request now?
Pretty high.
Way higher than they would have been if I had just randomly sent her a friend request. So really try your hardest to engage people first that way, and then they'll accept your friend request, and now you're in.
It almost goes. It goes back. Go ahead. Sorry.
I do have a script though for when you ask for business by sending people who are already your friend a private message on Facebook, and I'll share that on July 9th. But it's one thing to add people. It's one thing to engage them. It's one thing for them to accept your friend request. But just like any other form of lead generation, it's asking for the business, and it's sending people. For right now, from what I'm seeing, the agents who are listening and sending out like private messages to their database on Facebook, on average for every 100 private messages sent, about 60 respond to the message on Facebook, 10 give a lead, and 2 turn into an escrow within a month.
Wow.
And that was one day. And if you have 1,000 friends, that's 10 days of sending 100 messages out.
And it's personalized messages. It's not a cut and paste message.
It is a cut and paste message, but it still said "Dear so-and-so."
Okay.
When you copy and paste it, they don't know it was a cut and paste.
Okay.
And, I'll give you a quick idea. I don't mind reading it. I just don't think I could put it up where you guys could copy and paste it. But I don't mind giving an idea of what I mean. You'd be surprised how quickly people will respond to something like this, and it's because it's the way people communicate today. People are on Facebook. They're not at home.
Yep.
And this will just give you a quick idea.
Are you on your computer right now?
I am, but I'm pulling up a message for you.
I can go to your screen if you want.
No, that's okay. So
Okay.
here we go. Hi, John. Hope you had a great weekend. So I'm sure you know a million realtors, because remember, you might be talking to a stranger, by the way. So I'm sure you know a million realtors, and I wanted you to know that I am working hard to grow and expand my real estate business. We have a goal to help 33 families with the American dream this year, so we are boosting up our contact database and wanted to add you. I only want to add value and help in any way that I can for you or anyone that you know. I would love to be your go-to real estate consultant. If you are on board with this, please provide me with your contact info so that I can stay in touch with you and service you in the best way possible. I am looking for phone, home address, email address, and month and day of your birthday. You know what that means, smiley face. I hope all is well and look forward to hearing back from you. By the way, if you happen to know anyone looking to buy or sell right now, we would love an introduction. Have a great day. Now, here's the funny thing. I just got a message from a rookie agent who has not even closed his first transaction, who heard me speak in Northern California last week. Got this message this morning, and he said, "Boy, you sure run into a lot of jerks when you randomly send people private messages on Facebook." And I didn't respond to him, because of course you might get people who respond to you saying, "Look, I don't even know you. Now you're asking me for something, like I'm deleting you as a friend." Get over it. It's the same thing as a door slamming in your face, door knocking.
Yep.
Get over it.
Yep.
Continue lead generating. So I don't respond to him, and no joke, 30 minutes later he screenshots a Facebook message that he got back in Facebook, and he goes, "And then this happens." And the message that he sent me said, "Oh, nice to finally talk to you. I have to admit, I stalk your little puppy every now and then. You have the cutest puppy ever." He says back to this random stranger, "Ha ha ha, too funny. We always need to stick together with our Frenchies. Other dog owners just don't get it." And then she responds, "I know, it's all about the snort and smile. I also know someone looking to sell right now. I will connect you today. Is that okay?"
Wow. Yes, it's okay. Well, and I think what's huge is you gave numbers of 100 messages sent lead to 2 escrow, which is 1 out of 50, which is the same thing that we read in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book before the internet existed. And it's your target, it's your farm, and you are farming your Facebook friends. And to do that, you need a consistent, value-filled message.
Now here's what's crazy. I've never sent a private message to 100 people on my Facebook with that script or anything even remotely like it. I've never asked for business. It has just come based off of numbers and growing my audience, and my audience wanting a need to call me. They feel a need to finally call this guy they've been friends with, because now they have a question about real estate, and the first person that pops in their mind is me on multiple platforms. However, I started coming out with this more purposeful form of lead generation and teaching agents who I was coaching to just ask for the business straight up, and the response has been incredible. And the amount of agents who have been emailing me saying, "Dude, I've gotten 10 leads in the last 2 weeks. I've double-ended 3 deals boosting my listings on Facebook and targeting buyers in my area before it even hits the market."
Very cool. So I've got a selfish question, yet it might be relevant to everybody else, because here's my Facebook here. And, if you look at my total friends, 2163. Feeling the love, right? And it's like, I don't even know where to start. I have 99 plus requests from people that I'm going, I don't know you. I'm not really going to go ahead and just start randomly saying yes to everybody. I guess it's an opportunity for me if they're raising their hand for me to do that. Yet someone who's neglected their system or their profile like this, where the heck do I even start to be able to gain some momentum?
Everything we just talked about. you just start sending that script and start sending private messages to people. If you're asking for the business as a recruiter to KW, you should have a list that you create, or a realtor should have a list of potential clients. A recruiter should have a list that's called realtors, and they're real estate agents that you're engaging every day to start building your relationship with them and breaking the ice, so that when they see you on the street, they want to say thank you for liking my posts, or thank you for always helping me try to, sell one of my listings, and blah, blah, blah. And then you have a list as a realtor sure that you engage them every day. Adding people on Facebook, I add everyone. Anybody who sends me a friend request, I accept. Well, I can't anymore because I'm at the max. But when I was in that lead generation mode, anybody who would send me a friend request, I would accept, because you never know where a lead is going to come from. And I'm not worried about sharing too much with people on Facebook, because I only share what I want. So when people say, I don't want to accept somebody who I don't know, and they're creeping on my Facebook and they're stalking my photos, well, then don't show photos that you feel are stalkable. Don't show photos that you feel are creepable. And I said it in my first book, and it still is true to this day. Real estate agents do not have the luxury of using Facebook and social media the way our friends and family do. We don't have the luxury of dropping F-bombs. We don't have the luxury of being politically, one-sided. We don't have the luxury of being religiously one-sided. We don't have the luxury of getting into arguments. We don't have the luxury of being politically incorrect. So we have to approach our Facebook in a way that our friends and family don't. And we have to be friends with everybody. We have to be neutral. We have to be careful what we share. And besides the random person that you won't accept because it's an ex, or somebody you really just don't like, or a real estate agent who stole a deal from you, or a past client who sued you, there's really no reason to not accept somebody as a friend on Facebook.
Okay. That's good to know for me. I got some homework to do. So I have a question here, and I'll wrap this up. Katrina Benton. Katrina, I just unmuted you. Can you on? So Katrina asked, she says she's got 5,000 friends on Facebook, and most are agents that she met running around the country teaching. She has a team of 12, and teaching across the nation, from Florida to Alaska. She's in Alaska, so she won't make it next week. Yet what strategy would you use to get through kind of the vast, wide net of 5,000 plus? Do you start hyper level, local level? Do you put them in different categories? And I guess that's the fear that she had, the same as mine. Is almost like, what is feasible that we could start? And then does it work like a farm would, where you're not going to see result for 6 to 9 months, or when would you expect, or have you seen results come through?
I got a $5 million deal in my first 3 weeks.
Okay.
I know agents who start doing what I say to do while I'm teaching and get a lead before the end of class. It just depends on the level you're willing to do. I guess I'm confused about her question. If her question is, she's a realtor with a team in Alaska, and she wants to know how to benefit from all the agents that she's friends with, or is she just saying, besides all the agents that I'm friends with that took me up to the max in other states, how do I start getting business for my team in Alaska?
Okay, so I read it wrong, and her audio's not working. She actually has an expansion of 12 teams from across the nation.
Okay.
So
I've heard her name.
Yep.
So how does she start benefiting in this way?
And how does she gain referrals for 12 different locations with 5,000 people to be hyper-local for each referral?
Okay, well, she definitely is going to do her 5,000 for herself in Alaska. But if she has 12 expansion teams, then that means she has a handful, if not a dozen team leaders that are running her expansion team in those other areas, depending on how close they are to our hub. And those expansion leaders, or those people who are running the brand in those other areas, need to have the same friend count. They need to be building their own local databases with adding people, doing all the things that I said to do today, asking for the business, and then she will quickly see those referrals start coming in without question.
Very cool.
If I'm understanding her question correctly.
And I think you are. We'll see if I get a thumbs up or not. Is this behind the scenes social media stuff? Is this a leverageable piece of lead gen in your opinion, or does it have to come through the source, through authenticity? Can I
It has
hire
to
someone to
come.
do this?
It has to come from you, or you're going to have to pay a lot of money for somebody who knows you and knows your personality very well. Now, I'm not talking about a social media management company that posts on your behalf. That's good to do as long as the posts are relevant to your area and not nationally related posts that mean nothing. And usually, in order for it to work, it's really expensive because it has to be based on your area, which means you're hiring a local company or a company that spends a lot of time finding local relevant information. Otherwise, what I try to tell people to make it as easy as possible on you is download the Magnificent 7 apps to your phone. Make sure all 7 apps are on your phone like Rick showed in the webcam. Once you log into all of them, I don't want you to ever log out. And the reason for that is now you can post something on Facebook, then you can click on your Twitter button. You're already in. You don't have to figure out what your password is or if you forgot your username. And you can just copy and paste, change the message around a little bit, and post on all the multiple platforms while you're standing in line at Starbucks. It doesn't need to be time consuming. But the number one thing that will result in the best ROI is it coming directly from you and the authenticity of you and your message.
I love it. I love it. So, wrapping up, anything that I have not asked you that should have, that's really been a defining moment for you, or really has been your legacy that you are leaving or intend to leave, then what do you intend to do in the future? What does the next 5 years look like for you?
It's just continued growth throughout Keller Williams and ownership and helping our company and our brand grow the brand worldwide, as well as agents locally and nationally grow their business. I mean, it really is that simple. I'm always adapting whatever new form of communication that reaches the masses, or as social media evolves into multiple different things, then I will adapt to that form of communication and that form of reaching people. But without question, more than ever, agents need to be online and they need to be as accessible as the information that is at people's fingertips now. And there's no other way to do that besides social media and social networking.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate it. I've got about 4 pages of notes, and I know I'll have a lot more because I'm going to be there on July 9th as well. Those of you guys out there listening to this, you can see this will be recorded and up on my YouTube page, which is /Bosley Rick. And then I'm also in the midst of creating a podcast. That way we can keep it out there. And I know that script that you gave out, people were diligently writing it down. It will be recorded, so we'll shoot it up there. Tony, I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you in a week here in Florida. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good, guys.
Thanks, brother. Take care.